Today we are here with MJ Vieira, an independent fantasy author.
So, tell us a little bit about yourself and what you're currently working on.
Well, I'm a paranormal horror and fantasy writer, and I'm currently working on, oh geez, a whole list of projects. I have the third book to my first series, Veritas.
Oh,
Yep, trying to get that out. That's feels like pulling teeth at the moment, but I know
oh
it'll.
no.
You know how it goes. Just you're like, come on, work with me, and no one wants to. But then I also have
Uh,
third book in the Mangian series, or the Mangian Chronicles. That's my fantasy series I'm working
uh-huh.
on.
Hmm.
I have another follow up to the short story of a horror genre I did earlier this year that I'm actually going to turn into a mini series, which I wasn't expecting.
Oh
But
wow.
yeah, that took a turn for an unexpected turn, I should say. And then I've got a few others, a werewolf series I'm working on.
Oh my.
Yeah, I've got quite a few in there. Like I
That
said,
that is an extensive list. Are
it
you
is.
are you writing all of them at the same time, or are you
I
editing, or?
Yeah, I tend to flip back and forth while I'm writing because if I get stuck, like I said, Veritas is kind of giving me a hard time, so then I can
Hmm.
do a different one. And it frees my mind up on the previous story that I was stuck on, so I do tend to write more than one at a time. I do.
That's that's impressive.
Thanks. I have to, otherwise I get, like I said, I get stuck and then nothing happens for months, and then it's like, okay, so that was not productive.
Oh, yeah. See, as soon as I switch to a different project, that's it. I can't seem to do more than one at once.
I know a lot of people like that though, so I guess I'm just an oddball, but
Well, hey, whatever works.
exactly. I work with what I can do. So,
Yeah. Okay, so tell us a little about your series that you've got. So you've got the Veritas and the Mangian Chronicles, you said?
yep. So Veritas has two books out right now. The first one's called Lux. The second is actually titled Veritas. The third will be
Hmm.
Aquidus, and that is a paranormal thriller about a female character, Jade, who finds herself. The first chapter of Lux kind of throws everyone for a loop, but it basically starts in our time. But she actually wakes up in an apocalyptic setting.
Ooh.
And throughout the whole story, she's trying to figure out, who's real and who isn't, and who's on her side and who's actually using her. At the end of that story, you find out who the bad guys really are. And then Veritas picks up, and we realize that the original bad guy, Malum, and Lux really wasn't the ultimate bad guy. So,
Oh no.
yeah, gotta love that. So, the villain in Veritas is much worse than Malum was.
Uh-huh.
So then Aquidus will probably wrap that main arc up.
Hmm.
I have a couple other shorter stories going with it as well. Like I said, I can't do one thing at a time.
Yeah, ooh, that sounds really awesome.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. It was, that was my first publication was Lux. So it's been a while now. I can't believe it. Actually, it's been, I want to say 4 years since that one came out, which feels incredible to me. I can't believe
Yeah, congrats. That's impressive.
Thanks. It was just like, oh my God, I remember publishing that and then just being like, I just published a book and now at least I have five out, which is nothing compared to a lot of people, but I'm chipping away.
Yeah.
Uh, and then the Mangian Chronicles is a high fantasy series. The first two out are actually novellas. I have Fireweed, which takes you into the basic setting of the world.
Uh-huh.
Have a warlock type society, and then you have the vampires on the other side. And there's a very, very tense truce between them, but it kind of erupts when a prophecy starts being fulfilled
Oh
in
dear.
Fireweek. Yeah, prophecies are never good. I don't care what anyone says.
No. No. They tend to end badly for everybody.
Fire shows, you're right. So Fireweed shows the vampire side of the story, and then Firebird, which is the next novella, shows the Mangian or the warlock side of it. So the next book will actually be the two forces coming together and
Hmm.
unlike allies to fight something bigger than themselves.
Uh-huh.
That'll actually be a full-length novel. I just felt that the first two out really needed to describe exactly what was going on, and I couldn't really easily do it
Sure.
story the way I work. So
Yeah. Well, that sounds really cool. In terms of your vampire lore, what do you fashion it off of? Is this original vampire, or is this, something completely different?
It's kind of a hybrid in my own design. In this world, both species, I guess, for lack of a better term, come from the same gods. I have a whole pantheon.
Uh-huh. Very cool.
But the vampires were created by one entity, and the warlocks were created by another. And unfortunately, the vampires lost their ability to do magic.
Oops.
So and the Mangians still have it. So the vampires are very, very jealous of their brethren, and they do drink blood. They do have more strength and speed than humans. Mm-hmm. However, they're not really confined by sunlight. They do not sparkle. Sorry.
I hadn't even considered that.
I have to add that in there every time. I kind of laugh because I've got that question a lot. They're like, well, what kind of vampire is it? Is it like, Nosferatus or Anne Rice or Twilight? I'm like,
I was thinking, Dracula, original type, but okay.
Yeah, they're kind of Dracula-ish, I guess I would say. But like I said, sunlight really isn't a big deterrent. They don't like it, but it's not. They have to be in the dark.
Sure.
So yeah, I just kind of took a lot from each little lore, I guess, and kind of spun it around a bit.
Uh-huh. Well, that sounds really cool. So how much work did you put into creating this world? Because it sounds very elaborate.
Well, the Mangian side of it, the main characters are Arashi and Sita, and those are two that I actually started writing back as a teenager.
Ah.
So they just kind of sat there for a while, and I built that world up around them back then. So I put a lot of work into it, but thankfully I'd already laid the groundwork a while ago.
Yeah. Yes.
The gods were a bit harder just because, I don't like to leave loopholes or leave. So I tend to try to really flush that out as much as I can before I start writing. But as you know, you start writing and new details.
Things change.
Yeah. So I gotta go back, and I'm like, oh geez, that didn't work. So I gotta go back and kind of vamp things. But I have put a lot of work into their world because, like I said, I want it to be a complete,
Yeah, absolutely. So as far as the pantheon goes, is it based off of anything, or?
I'd say the structure is similar to Greek or Roman. There's multiple gods. It's not just a one deity. There is a supreme deity, and then there's a bunch of lesser, and then it kind of filters down to even more. But your basic ones are Coburn, which he rules the Mangians, and Barbina is the vampires goddess. So they end up basically battling, and that's how the vampires, sibling rivalry. So, vampires lost out on that one.
Yeah.
But I've always been very fascinated with mythologies of any kind. So I tend to draw a lot from that. Like my werewolves, that world is our world, but I'm taking a lot from Native American mythologies and.
Oh, wow, that'd be very cool.
So the Norse and the natives there's actually a lot of similarities between the two, which I didn't realize until I actually started diving deeper. So that type of stuff just fascinates me. So unfortunately, I get lost down a rabbit hole doing that. Write me things. I'm like, oh my god, look at this.
Yeah, the research rabbit hole. I think everyone gets lost down there.
Yeah, I don't have a YouTube issue. I have a book issue. So I go in the library and I start researching, and next thing I know, I'm gone. I'm like, well, that was not what I wanted to get done, but I learned some things. So.
Oh, absolutely. As long as you learn something that may or may not be useful, then I think it's successful.
Right. I agree.
So, is your werewolf story a full-length novel?
It will be, yes. I'm about halfway through it, so yeah, we're getting there. Thanks.
So, what does an average writing day look like for you? Are you jumping between projects in one day, or is it more like you work on one for a week and then switch type of thing?
Typically, what I try to do is set up a daily schedule, so I actually flip between the projects daily if I can. sometimes that doesn't always work out. Sometimes I'll get to the end of one day and I'll realize, well, that scene really isn't done, but I'm at my breaking point, so I'm going to come back to it in the morning and finish it. I do most of my best writing in the morning or late at night.
Mm-hmm.
Problem is late at night, then I tend not to sleep, but
well,
sleep's overrated.
Sleep. You don't need sleep. Sleep is for normal people.
Normal people, which I am obviously not. So
I don't think any of us are normal at this point.
I don't. Yeah, if you write for any length of time, I think you tend to lose that normality way down.
Yeah, well,
yeah.
Okay. Normal. Oh well. So how did you get into writing? Because it sounds like you've been doing this for a while.
Yeah. So I mean, I'm an avid reader. I've been reading since I was a little kid. That's something my parents have really pushed at me.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually started writing when I was a teenager to kind of escape some things going on at home. My mom was really sick, and high school was just high school, and it was a way for me to escape without getting into trouble. So, I actually started RPing with some people, and
yeah, I missed doing this.
Yeah, it was just a long writing thing back and forth, and it really helped me develop these characters and develop a style of my own and find my voice. And I never ever considered writing a novel until actually, about the time Lux started forming. I wrote the prologue for Lux because I was watching a music video and it just kind of stirred some imagery up, so I just sat down and wrote it. Well, then it sat for a good 3 years before I went back, and I started kind of adding to it and sharing with some of my friends, like, you should keep going. So finally, it just kind of evolved out of that. But I definitely say reading attributed a lot to me actually wanting to write.
Yeah, I would probably agree. I think that's fairly common amongst our set.
Yes, definitely.
Okay, so what's your least favorite part of writing?
Editing.
That was easy.
And it's not even so much that it's hard or that I can't take the criticism. It's more, I think, because I'm horrible at doing it as I go. So by the time I'm done, all of a sudden I've got this huge project now I have to re-edit, and I dread it really bad. So I get better at kind of editing as I go, and that way it's not so daunting when I get it back.
Oops.
Like, why did I do that? I don't remember what I was doing.
Yeah, I have done that. I do that frequently. So do you have beta readers that you send your work out to?
I do. I have a group of typically five readers that I send it to. I feel like gives me a good little basis, because you've got the couple that, you've always got people that are going to be like, oh, this is awesome, because they don't want to insult you. And then I have a couple that are like very, very hard as nails. What the heck were you thinking? What is this? But it's good to have the two, I think, of a mix, because then you don't really get discouraged. But at the same time, I definitely need that. You need to go look at this because it doesn't make sense.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's an essential part of editing is learning who hates your novel and why.
Exactly. It really is. And the first, I remember Lux, I sent it to one editor and it didn't go well. Well, it wasn't, she was right in one sense, it wasn't ready completely to be edited yet. On the other hand, the way she went about it was, it hurt a lot. Like, I mean, I almost just threw it away and said, I'm not doing this. Like, I can't, I'm just too sensitive for this. I can't do it. But,
well, you stuck with it.
Yeah, I did. I went in the shower. I kind of cried it out for a couple minutes. Came back out. I'm like, all right, let's, I let myself take a break for a bit and then went back at it. But I think if you don't learn to realize that not everyone's going to love your work, it's going to make it very hard, and there's no point in even doing it because you can't please everyone.
No.
And sometimes those criticisms actually help you in the long run.
Oh, absolutely.
Sometimes people are just being mean, but a lot of times you can take Well, people are people. A lot of times, though, you could take at least a kernel of it and go, okay, yeah, that's something I need to work on, and just learn from it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, moving away from your writing, what is a favorite story that you wish you had written? And this can be of any form, novel, movie, television, play, poem.
I wish that I had written.
Yes.
Good question. Holy cow. There's quite a few. I'd love to say Harry Potter. I mean, that's actually one of my favorite series. Just my grandmother got me into it when the first book came out, and it's been something I grew up with, But I also love Tolkien.
Yeah.
Ooh, that's hard. I really don't know. Money-wise, I almost would say something like The Vampire Diaries just because of how well it did.
Yeah.
If I wanted to go with more substance and not to be insulting because I love The Vampire Diaries, but I would probably have to say something like Harry Potter just because I love that story.
They are. Those are, yeah, absolutely.
Put a lot of work into that.
I know. So. The world building is astonishing sometimes. But
yeah, it is. I really, and that's my biggest thing. Like, I want to be able to relate to a character. If I start reading something and I can't, get into even one of the characters, I have a very hard time finishing it because I put a lot into character building. So I appreciate authors that do the same.
Absolutely. So, as far as character building, do you plan out your characters, or are they just spring fully formed from your head?
Both. I would say it kind of depends on the story. Like, my main characters, honestly, most of them kind of just come fully formed. I don't even know how it happens. I'm like, oh, this is so-and-so, and boom, 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 that's their powers. I mean, as you write, though, I think most of us learn things about our characters that we didn't know. So even though I may have a fully formed ideal in my head, I'll be writing and all of a sudden I'll realize, oh, well, take Jade, for example, from Lux. She hates socks.
Socks?
Yeah, I didn't realize until I was writing it. And I'm like, oh, does not like those. Which is, such a silly detail, but it just, I like knowing stuff like that about characters.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, but then others, some of them I have to sit there and go, okay, I really need, an antagonist in this, and I don't know what to do. So I'll sit there and find inspiration and then draft something out. And then a lot of them, I actually take people I know and I'll kind of twist them around into a character.
Do you tell them this?
Sometimes. Some of them no.
Oops. Well, I mean, take inspiration from real life, I guess.
I take inspiration anywhere I can get it, and yeah, if I meet someone and they do something extremely interesting, it's probably going to end up in a book somewhere.
I have a few people that I need to put into books, but I'm waiting until a socially appropriate time so they don't have to figure out that I'm writing about them.
Yeah, there's a few people I've done the same. I wait a little bit, but yeah, I feel for the most part I should have like a warning label that says something along the lines of I'm a writer, anything you do, say, or whatever can be used in a book, so you're warned.
I think they have t-shirts like that.
I think so too, and I think I want one because I think I saw an ad for it somewhere.
I do too.
Oh. Yeah.
Writers. Okay, so what is the best money you've ever spent as a writer?
Actually, I'd say the best money I've spent was hiring Mr. Michael Evans, because he's been able to get me onto, podcasts like yours and give me more exposure that I've never been able to get on my own. So I felt that was a very good value for the money I spent. So
absolutely, yeah, it's terribly helpful to do these sorts of things, get exposure, especially in the indie world where we rely so much on social media marketing and word of mouth.
Right, and social media marketing frustrates me to no end. So to be able to get on and meet someone like you and talk about it it's a lot better in my mind than sitting here trying to post things on Facebook that may or may not get seen.
Yeah.
You know, frustrating, to say the least.
Well, social media has many traps, but it can be used usefully, I suppose. I still haven't figured out Facebook ads, so we'll work on that.
I tried. I spent, I think, $20 on one of them, and it did nothing. They're like, oh, you can reach, 5,000 people with this, and I doubt it.
You can, but
can, exactly, but will it?
Yeah. Yeah. Unfortunately, it seems like that is the main mode of marketing these days is social media, because even the traditional publishers have their authors do social media marketing.
Yes, or the authors have someone do it for them, but they're still on there.
Sure.
I mean, even King's on there. I mean, you've got people that, and I've got a Twitter account, but I'll be perfectly honest, I'm horrible at it. I maybe post once or twice a week, and I still don't think I do it right. Instagram I'm getting better with because I'm getting a little bit better feel for the hashtags. But that took me a while too because I didn't know you should put like 20 some odd hashtags on something. I'm like, well, that seems a bit ridiculous, but it works. So,
learning. There are strategies for everything. Some make sense and some of them do not.
Exactly.
And as soon as the algorithms change, then the strategies change.
Exactly. And then you're back to square one again. And yeah, I'm like, I just want to write and be left alone. Can you just let me write and read my stuff? That'd be great.
I think you're in the wrong time period for that.
I know. I know, right?
Oh, well, I mean, it's useful. Social media can connect you with all sorts of people, but it is frustrating.
I have met some very cool people on there, I will say. But yeah, trying to figure out the algorithms and figure out the best marketing strategy is not my forte. So it's taking a while.
Yeah, well, my guess is that most writers are the same way because most of us don't have a background in business.
Right.
So as far as people trying to get into the field, do you have any tips or traps that they should avoid?
Tips would be just to keep going because, like I said earlier, even though someone's going to not like your work and they're going to make it very well known, you're going to find people that really do support you and that do want you to do well. Yeah. And it just takes time. It's frustrating, but it's not an instantaneous gratification type deal. Traps, I would avoid the Facebook ads for one. And I also, like, this is just something I'm noticing. If you are a heavy presence on social media, be very careful what you post. Because, I mean, yeah, there's a lot of sensitive people out there, but my personal view is I try very hard to stay away from politics. Or
gosh.
Yeah, I've seen a lot.
Last week, because of the Democratic National Convention, everything kind of blew up.
Oh yeah, it was bad, and everyone's obviously entitled to their own opinion, and that's absolutely fine. But if you're trying to market and sell your books and yourself, basically going on a tirade for 5 pages about why everyone that doesn't believe what you believe is an idiot probably isn't a good idea.
Yeah, probably not.
It tends to kind of alienate, readers.
Yeah.
They may not have realized it alienated, and it may not even be that they disagree with you. It could just be that they're like, I come to read your books, not listen to your political views.
Yeah. I think until you reach, the status of celebrity, then politics should be avoided.
Then you can go on tirades. But unfortunately, you don't know who you're going to upset. Right. And like also bashing other authors or anything like that. It's just, just be really careful what you say, because even though you don't want people getting offended by everything, there are other ends of that spectrum where you don't want to attack people and have that completely blow up in your face too, because it will.
Yeah. Although I have to admit, most of the people in the writing community I've found tend to be fairly supportive of other authors.
Most of them are, yes, absolutely. I've met a lot of, I was on a takeover last night, and I'm moving to Iowa. I live in Missouri now.
Oh, wow. Quite the move.
Well, I moved from Maine last year, so...
Okay, so this one's not as bad.
Maine to Missouri, now I'm going Missouri to Iowa. So, but I met someone in that group, and we were just talking. And I said, yeah, I'll be going back to Iowa. And she's like, oh, where from? And so we started talking, and she actually sent me a bunch of groups for vendors and book fairs and stuff in Iowa, which
Oh, wow.
I never would have found that on my own. Like that was
That's really
great.
cool.
Very supportive because she's in the same community. I
Uh-huh.
think, we're in competition with each other, but we don't have to be nasty to each other, I guess is a good way to say it. And for the most part, like you said, everyone is very, very supportive. But then you get those few who just,
Yeah.
they got to sit there and barb and wonder why it blows up.
Mm-hmm.
That would be my advice. Just, just be neutral. Be Switzerland.
I am all for that.
Right.
So yeah, it's complicated. But then people are always complicated, which is what makes them fun.
Exactly. I just stay away from it though. I sit there and read it and kind of grab bad pop. Go, well, this is interesting, but I'm not joining it.
Yeah, that sounds exactly like me.
Yep.
Okay, so these book fairs, that sounds really fun. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
I think it's kind of like most of the book signing events or any of the conventions that they're having now.
Sure.
I don't know where are you?
I'm currently in Ohio.
Okay. So, like they have, I know they had a big one in Columbus not too
Yeah.
long ago. And I know there was a huge one in St. Louis and New Orleans. But these, I think, are probably just smaller versions of that. So I guess a convention might be a better word. But, you go, you set up, you have your books, your swag, and, you hopefully meet new readers and make some sales.
Sure.
I haven't been able to do any of the live stuff because I've just been all over the country, obviously. So
yeah, it sounds like you're jumping around a lot.
World. Yeah. So I'm hoping that I can at least get to a couple of those and maybe meet some people.
Yeah, that sounds really cool, especially since I know a lot of them are opening their doors to indie authors.
Yes, which is huge. I mean, Barnes and Noble was supposed to be, they'll buy indie author books, but getting them to do it, I mean, I've been trying now for a few months. And
well, you might want to keep trying because Barnes and Noble, it got acquired by the hedge fund that owns Waterstones in the UK. And the CEO of Waterstones is now running Barnes and Noble, and what he did in the UK is make it very much a local community thing. So what the local community wanted, then that store would do. So I think Barnes and Noble is going to be run the same way. So if you sort of petition your local store to say, hey, we need an indie author section, then something might happen.
Then I will get on that and keep bugging them because they'd given me the name of someone to email, and I've emailed a few times and never gotten a response. So, but that was, I mean, honestly, a few months ago at this point. So maybe some changes have been made.
Yes. Yeah.
So, yeah, I'll try that again for sure because
I'm intending to go and pester them quite diligently.
Yes, that sounds like a plan. Add that to my list.
Alrighty. Well, is there anything else you want to add, talking about your projects or writing, or nothing related to writing in general?
I would just like to add one thing on my projects because I kind of spaced on mentioning it earlier, but recently I had a friend commit suicide.
Oh.
So one of the stories I'm writing is actually in his memory, and all proceeds from it will go to the Scars Foundation, which is Sully Erna from Godsmack. It's a metal band for those who don't know who Godsmack is. And it's basically a foundation for mental health awareness and suicide prevention. So that will be.
Yeah, thank you for doing that. That's amazing, and I'm sorry for your loss.
No, thanks. It was really hard, but I'm more sad for his fiance and his family. But it'll be a Viking-based story, so I've got the groundwork laid for it. I'm just filling in now.
Okay, so can you tell us a little bit about that?
It'll follow the main character, Jax, which is based off of my friend, and it will follow him as he tries to redeem himself in the eyes of, again, Norse mythology, Odin, and saving, he ends up with a group of kids, like orphans, who he's going to basically guide through this very troubling era. And get to safety. So
That sounds really cool.
thanks. I hope so. I mean, it's been fun. It's a little sad to write it, but it's been fun at the same time.
Yeah, well, I will definitely look out for that. I'm really excited to actually read your work too.
Thank you. Yeah, and I'll be looking at yours too, because that's the other thing I love about this. All these people I've talked on these podcasts are other authors, and it's
Yeah.
great to get to see new work. So that always makes
Yes.
me excited.
Well, October for me. That's my release date plan. But
Is it?
so when do you have any release dates coming up?
Not planned at the moment. As soon as I get some, I'll let everyone know. But the move has kind of thrown everything for a loop.
Yeah, I imagine it would.
Yeah. But October, okay, I'll keep that in the back of my head for you.
Yeah, but I will happily share all of your links to all of the works that are already out and do one of the book reviews. Which book are you thinking?
Well, if you want to go paranormal, you can go with Lux, or if you want to go fantasy, it would be Fireweed. So I will leave that up to you.
Ooh, well, I read just about everything.
Try Lux then.
Okay, I will do that one. That sounds very interesting. I'm keen to read it.
Okay.
All right. Well, thank you so much for coming on and talking with me. This was good fun, and I learned a whole lot about creating worlds that I didn't know before.
Great.
Also, you can write more than one project at a time, which is super impressive.
I have lots of notebooks. Trust me. Otherwise, I'd get myself lost. So.
Yeah, I think, yeah, I would be lost with just more than one. So, okay, good for you. Congrats.
Well, thank you for having me. It was a lot of fun.